Hey guys, we are waiting for the kids' Christmas presents. But I thought I'd take a couple minutes to answer some questions in my very chilly and messy mudroom. So there's been quite a few questions that have come up over the past couple days, or not questions, people not knowing what certain things were, or questions, or yada yada. So I thought I would address some of those. The first is, I keep getting the thing saying that I'm calling a boiler the wrong thing. And I understand maybe there's not boilers throughout the United States. A boiler is a heating system that would run your heat as well as your hot water. It actually warms water in order to heat your stuff. So a furnace heats air in order to heat like your home. A boiler heats water and produces steam, or heats steam and heats your home. So that's the difference. It's also different than a hot water heater. It's like it goes like through the boiler system. I don't know if that helps. If you want, you can Google it somewhere, but a boiler is an actual thing. I'm not saying a wrong word. That's what it is. They were coming out to look at the boiler. So that's what that is. Let's see what else. Why don't I wear gloves? Okay, as you guys can see, I have eczema on my hands. The type of eczema I have is, hey guys, we are waiting for the kids' Christmas presents. But I thought I'd take a couple minutes to answer some questions in my very chilly and messy mudroom. So there's been quite a few questions that have come up over the past couple days, or not questions, people not knowing what certain things were, or questions, or yada yada. So I thought I would address some of those. The first is, I keep getting the thing saying that I'm calling a boiler the wrong thing. And I understand maybe there's not boilers throughout the United States. A boiler is a heating system that would run your heat as well as your hot water. It actually warms water in order to heat your stuff. So a furnace heats air in order to heat like your home. A boiler heats water and produces steam, or heats steam and heats your home. So that's the difference. It's also different than a hot water heater. It's like it goes like through the boiler system. I don't know if that helps. If you want, you can Google it somewhere, but a boiler is an actual thing. I'm not saying a wrong word. That's what it is. They were coming out to look at the boiler. So that's what that is. Let's see what else. Why don't I wear gloves? Okay, as you guys can see, I have eczema on my hands. The type of eczema I have, it's called like dermatitis epiformis or something like that. It's specifically related to gluten, and in that form of eczema or dermatitis, it causes like almost like bubbles, and then the bubbles will itch, and then they'll pop, and then they will become like a dry, itchy irritation. So with that, wearing anything on your hands actually increases that. So wearing gloves or something on your hands that produce like sweat or any of your glands to be like constricted actually makes it a lot worse. So no, I don't wear gloves. No, it doesn't bother my kids. If it did, they could have the option to make their food too. And we're just doing whatever for our family. Eczema is not contagious. I try to, if my hands are just dry, my hands are like dry right now. If I had something like oozing something, then that might be different. But whatever works for your household or whatever you felt comfortable with is completely okay. I understand like if that's you, but it's just not practical for me to constantly be wearing gloves and dealing with the other issues that come along with that for myself. The way I am healing my hands is by helping my body to heal itself. and it will take some time, and that happens by not eating gluten. I was eating gluten for a number of months at the hospital, and then even out of the hospital, and it just caused my eczema to flare up really bad. It's in my system, so I need to like detox it out of my system completely before my hands will completely look better. So that's what's going on with my hands. Let me think what else. Let's talk about housing. So as far as housing goes, things are a lot different here. I think there's quite a few comments of like, that's not good enough, or I can never imagine, or you're looking at like crap properties. I've seen quite a few times. And that is entirely not true. Where we live, things are very expensive, very expensive. A normal property, say you had a half an acre, 4-bed, 2-bath, you're looking at least $675, up to over $1 million. I mean, that's just how it is here. As far as rental costs for 4-bed, 2-bath with a yard, we're looking at $4,000 a month. So it is actually cheaper for us to buy a property and have a yard than it would be to rent a property. And that also has to do with, you know, who really wants to rent their 4-bed, 2-bath to a family of 15. I know that even if it were me renting, I'd be a little more like lenient, but you know, it's kind of like, oh, there's that many more people, there's that much more that could go wrong with the house, right? Like, I understand the reasoning behind things. We do feel very blessed for being able to be here where we are at. Yeah, we do feel blessed for where we are at, but there are definitely some considerations for where we're at. And yes, there is no yard, literally no yard. I'm looking at the street right in front of me, and if you can see that white behind me over there, that's a shopping center. That's our yard, like literally. So we have the driveway where the kids can kind of go, but we also have 3 vehicles. So we have 3 vehicles, and yeah, we have 3 vehicles. Anyway, trying to think what else. I think it's just different. I think a lot of people are used to living in an area that things aren't expensive. Oh, as far as, I get a lot of questions about like, how can you possibly live in something that small? I honestly don't see it as that small. We didn't live, but we had a cabin on our friend's land for a while, and we would go up there and have, you know, weekends or spend extended periods of time up there, and that was 400 square feet, I think. What is that? 32 by 14. What is that? I need to like do it on the thing. 400 and something square feet, I think. But I designed the space well, and it worked fine, and we had lots of land outside. I'm not saying that I want to live in that type of situation. Definitely not. For an extended period of time, but we also like camping. Like, we're fine with less space. Yeah, we're fine with less space. I would much rather less space and more land than more house space and less land. So that's my thoughts on things. Then people, just to kind of squelch maybe what some people are thinking. I don't know who's out there or what they're thinking, but in the state of Maine, this was asked, how many square foot do I legally need per person? So I want to make sure that everyone understands that everything is legal if we are to move into a smaller place. So boys and girls need separate bedrooms, which to me is obvious. And the house that we are looking at right now is 1,610 square feet. And so in the state of Maine, you need 70 square feet per person, which would be 1,050 square feet. So we'd be 500 and whatever that is. We're over on the amount of square footage that is needed to be legal, just in case anyone has those questions. And our long-term goal is to extend out into the other building, which would mean that we would double our space. And I think we'd actually have more space between the two buildings than we did in the big house. So we would actually have, I think, like 3,400 square feet if we are using both the buildings. So that's our long-term goal. Is that going to happen within the next year if we get this place? Probably not, but we'll make steps to it. You just got to decide where your money's going and what you're going to do. I think first off, we probably are going to work on doing some things way up north at our other house so that we can get it on to be rentable. I also want to focus on gardening and gardens and that type of stuff. And if we have an income coming down from the other house, then that can also be applied into this other building. So that's the plans and the goals for that. A couple people said, she looks pregnant. I'm sorry, I'm just fat. I've been pregnant 20 times. I'm gonna almost always look pregnant. And if I have some issues with gluten, a lot of times on some days, I might look a lot more bloated than other days. Are we interested in having any more children? We've always been open to having children. I also am 47 years old. I just feel incredibly blessed that God's given me the children that he has. I feel like God got to choose my family size, and I just feel really blessed by that. I think I'll do a whole video at some point about where I came with that decision, when I changed my decision, when I made all the decisions by that. So yes, I know that people my age still can have children. If the Lord blessed us, then I would be very thankful for that. But I also understand the other. But when people say, oh, look, it looks like she's pregnant. I mean, if I walked up to a stranger and I was like, oh, you look like you're pregnant, or he says, oh, when are you due? You know, it's kind of like, oh yeah, you look fat. Anyway, it doesn't bother me. Like, God created my body the way that it is, and I'm okay with my body because my body was created to carry babies. So I'm gonna have bigger hips and I might have a little poofy tummy, and that's okay. Like, that's who I am and how I am at this moment. So, you know, praise the Lord. I have no one to impress except for my husband. I should have wrote questions down because now I can't remember. I go through the comments and I'm like, I should probably think about that. I should think about that. I don't know. I think I addressed pretty much most of the questions that we've had recently. Other things I usually answer just in the comments as far as like recipes and stuff go. We are going to, quite a few people asked about some gluten-free things. We are going to be doing a video hopefully soon, if not December, in January, with a bunch of our baked goods gluten-free things, which will be lovely for us to have. We're going to try to make a pack as well. Another thing is today we're putting up some Christmas type shirts to our spread shop, this video, and then you can check out the spread shop because by the time I upload this, the spread shop should be open with the Christmas things. I'm going to order some stuff while it's on sale so that the kids have it for Christmas. I'm so excited for that. So yeah. Anyway, those are the questions for the day. If you have any other questions, I'm not answering questions about head covering because it gets really controversial, and it doesn't need to be controversial because there's nothing controversial really about it, in my opinion. So I'm not going to mention that, and I'm not going to mention why I dress the way I do, why my daughters choose to dress the way they do. Other things, the other thing I always get asked is, it's actually not even being asked, it's assuming that my daughters do nothing all day, which is so funny because like you only see this tidbit of their lives. So my daughters are doing their own things. My daughters have a life outside of here. Some of my daughters have gone like on retreats. Some of my daughters work full time. Some of my daughters have their own businesses. So I don't understand why people assume, like, people are like, oh, well, if you do this, then maybe your daughters can, do something else. My daughters are very independent. They do their own thing. We talk about like what they want to do, and I help them get to the point where they can do that. We chat about things do businesses, do this, do that. So yeah, and it's honestly like, I'm not going to be like, this daughter works here, this daughter works here. This is stupid. I'm not going to say that about my sons either. But for some reason, people think that like my daughters are suppressed and can't think for themselves, or they're just somehow like my slaves. No, we're a family. We all work together. And if you happen to see like some of my daughters in the video, it's because like they're home. They're home at that moment. So another thing that I get questions on, which I almost forgot, was as regards to my health. I have mentioned in quite a few of these videos lately that I am tired. I am tired. Most people are going to be tired if they get very little sleep, and that is what is going on with me. So you have to take this into consideration. I have a daughter with type 1 diabetes. A lot of times her alarm goes off 3 to 4 times a night. I usually go to bed. One of my daughters usually blesses me. She tells me take the younger kids up to bed. She'll watch Azariah. They usually go to bed between 9 and 10. Quite honestly, that's not the best schedule that I would want or have, but that is the time, between 9 and 10. We usually come upstairs and snuggle and have our time together, and then he falls asleep about 10:30, and then he wakes up about 11:30, and then he wakes up about 12, and then he wakes up about 12:30, and then he wakes up about 1, and then he wakes up about 2. I give him his medication at 2. Usually at that time he is in the crook of my arm, and he will sleep, usually waking up about every hour or so, and just want to be readjusted. He normally wants to sleep literally like up on my shoulder. So I just kind of like am leaning myself against the bed like this, slouched down a little bit with my baby on my shoulder. That is how I end up sleeping a lot of the nights. It's just the only thing that really works. Yes, I've spoken to the doctors about it. For him, it's just what works at this moment. So we're going to see. And if we start doing the BiPAP, it's going to be a lot worse. And we're going to be doing that soon. So there's going to be a huge stretch where I am just exhausted. I have been exhausted since he was born. I've been sleeping for over a year. 2 to 4 to 6 hours a night. I say like, so if I say that I go to bed, I could very easily say I go to bed around 11 and then I get up around 7. That sounds like a long period of time, right? So if I go to bed at 11 and I get up around 7, and then I usually would get up about 3 times average for my daughter with type 1, and then I get up roughly every hour with Azariah. So I am going to be a tired mama. So sometimes I am going to yawn, sometimes I'm going to slurp my coffee, and sometimes I'm just going to be tired. I don't think that that's a medical issue. If I go to the doctors and I tell my doctor, hey, whatever, she's going to be like, you're tired because you need sleep. Anywho, that's where my tired issue comes along. So I don't think that I need to run tests for it being tired because of life issues. If I was feeling tired and I was getting a full night's sleep, that would totally be a different story. I am not. And you see how much I do in a day. Well, you don't see everything I do in a day because I only show you part of it. But the amount of cooking and homeschooling and cleaning and appointments and. So yes, that's our life. It's busy and I don't get much sleep. So I'm going to yawn. I'm going to be tired. I don't think it's a medical emergency. Anyhow, that's it. So that was just the answer to a couple of the questions. I hope you guys have a blessed and wonderful day. I am chilly. That is why I'm wearing this all wrapped around me. I always get chilly at the back of my neck. I should only wear hooded sweatshirts in wintertime because the back of my neck always gets chilly. It always has. I usually like end up sitting by the wood stove. I cannot wait to have a house and install a wood stove if it doesn't already have one. Anyhow, have a blessed day.